The Problem of Life, Sri Aurobindo's The Life Divine, Chapter 22, The Problem of Life. So we have seen that there is an interplay of consciousness and force. And this interplay of consciousness and force has two results. One of it is Satchidananda, and the other one is Maya. Now, we as human beings, we can usually not perceive Satchidananda, and we can usually only perceive Maya, which we take as the only possible reality there is to perceive. Because we have no proof that there is another reality. We only always experience unconsciousness, division, Maya, matter. Or do we? Anyway, we are caught in this world of phenomena. And these phenomena misrepresent the manifold reality of divine cosmic consciousness, which is concealed behind the veil of mind. This veil has three appearances. Firstly, there is submerged consciousness, which is material and superficial and lost in form. Then the second is the vital, or sometimes also called subtle, which is emerging consciousness, half apparent as the power of life and the process of growth. It is imperfect, but it is kind of, we already can feel that there's something else out there. And the third is mental. And again, when Sri Aurobindo says mental, it is what is not meant is the mind. Mental is something else. Mental is kind of the opposite of material. And in the mental, the consciousness of mankind is delivered out of its imprisonment. Here now you can see your limitations and the possibilities, but you're still not totally free. There's one more step, which is the supramental, supermind. There we can fully experience the existence and the interplay of consciousness and force. And the secrets are revealed that have been hidden behind the mask of the great denial. And the great denial is the divine denying itself. The only way this illusion of Maya, this stage that we're living in, this separation, can work is if the divine is denying itself. It pretends not to be itself. The material universe can only work if Satchidananda is denied by the divine. A plunging into utter apparent separation of consciousness and force. That's the secret. Consciousness and force are the same thing. But we can usually only perceive force, or better, results of this force, and describe it. We don't know what it is, but we can describe what it does in our narrow perception of awareness and reality. Sri Aurobindo writes, the whole crux and difficulty of human life lies here. Man is this mental being, this mental consciousness working as mental force, aware in a way of the universal force and life of which he is part, but because he has not knowledge of its universality or even of the totality of his own being, unable to deal either with life in general or with his own life in a really effective and victorious movement of mastery. He seeks to know matter in order to be master of the material environment, to know life in order to be master of the vital existence, to know mind in order to be master of the great obscure movement of mentality in which he is not only a jet of light of self-consciousness like the animal, but also more and more a flame of growing knowledge. Thus he seeks to know himself in order to be master of himself, to know the world in order to be master of the world. This is the urge of existence in him, the necessity of consciousness. He is the impulsion of the force that is his life, the secret will of Satchidananda appearing as the individual inner world in which he expresses and yet seems to deny himself. And this is the same passage that I have quoted before. He must either himself become a divine humanity or give place to Superman. So, to explain this passage, man has this triple life: material, vital, and mental. The problem is that most people think they're mostly the material life, they're mostly the body. The vital life is the energy, the nervous system, the chakras, the meridians, and so on. The stuff that we learn to explore in yoga or in Qigong. Watch my videos about that. And then there's the mental life. And that's actually the most important one. We are actually mental beings, which means beings without substance. Mental means not material. That is our true nature. We are mental beings, and this is one of the differences between us and animals. Animals also have the material body, and they also have the vital. But what they have less than we do is the mental. They also have a mental part, but ours is much stronger developed because we have the potential to wake up from this dream, to see different realities. Also, as Carlos Castaneda describes, the only difference between us and animals, from Carlos Castaneda's view, which is very similar to the ancient rishis, is that we can shift our assemblage point. That's it. That's the only difference. And that is here what Sri Aurobindo also writes about. We can see different parts of reality, different aspects. We're not fixed to this one. Initially we are, but we have the potential to see different realities and to see the interplay between force and consciousness, to experience Satchitananda. We can do this. But we have to realize first that this is our destiny, which is super difficult, of course. How can we realize this? The force follows the consciousness. He writes, the mental or the supramental life is the real life of the real man or woman, towards which this partial life and partial unfulfilled manhood, humanity, is striving forward with a perfect knowledge and guidance in the so-called inconscient within us. But in our conscient parts, with only a dim and struggling prevision, with fragments of realization, with glimpses of the ideal, with flashes of revelation and inspiration, in the poet and the prophet, the seer and the transcendentalist, the mystic and the thinker, the great intellects and the great souls of humanity. So first everything comes in spurts. A little bit here, a little bit there. And then we have to put this puzzle together. Assemble the puzzle, assemblage point. The trouble is, and also the key is, that the human being imagines himself or herself as the doer of the work by his free will. But in reality, nature determines all his works, and even the wise are compelled to follow their own nature. And what is nature? Nature is the creative force of consciousness in the universe. We have illusion power and truth power in the world, and we usually focus on the illusion power. We participate in the illusion by repeating our beliefs all the time, by brainwashing ourselves, by continuing to brainwash ourselves, our children, our friends, and so on. So what we need is to really understand our body and our energy system and our mind. And then to reverse the separation and to stop this internal war. We have an internal war of matter, life, and mind in our bodies, in our thingy, suit, whatever you will call it. We need a union, not a separation. And union in Sanskrit is yoga. And we need to use the vital force for that. The vital force is the bridge. We cannot jump from a materialistic view straight to a supramental view. We need bridges for that. And the vital system is very good for that. Because it already works. It's part of nature. But we usually don't control it. We just let it do its work. Now our mind is still rooted in division and limitation. And we have to move it, direct it towards perfection. Which we can do by love, mental illumination, and self-giving. Our souls are evolving anyway. So it will happen anyway. It's just the question, do you want to accelerate this or not? And by doing this, also the body will transform and transcend itself. Yeah. When we reunite our parts, our material body, gross part, our vital part, our mental part, and our supramental part, then everything will transform. And in this transformed and reunited being, we can perceive Satchidananda. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you to all my Patreons, and thank you for joining me as a patron. And see you soon.